Okay, this is the CRE committee. This meeting is being recorded by Community Relations Committee. If any of the persons present are doing the same, you must notify the chairperson at this time in accordance with the MGLC 30A SS 20G. No person shall address the meeting of a public body without permission of the chair, and all persons shall, at the request of the chair, be silent. No person shall disrupt the proceedings of the meeting or the public body. If after clear warning from the chair, a person continues to disrupt the proceedings, the chair may order the person to withdraw from the meeting. And if the person does not withdraw, the chair may authorize a constable or other officer to remove the person from the meeting. Okay, is anyone else recording? Okay, so we'll start with roll call. Councilor Gilmore
Here.
and Councilor Ricketts. I'm here. Councilor Lapiensky is not here. Councilor Toronzo and Councilor Bottomley are not here. Okay, so thank you to Councilor Gwynn for coming in, and that makes us a quorum, and Councilor Forgy is here as well. And so that will be helpful if we need some background information, because not only is she currently a councilor, she was our first mayor, and Councilor Gwynn was on our first council. So we have some good people here for information if need be. Okay, so I'm not seeing any names in the chat. Is that correct, Councilor Gilmore?
I don't see any.
Okay. And I can just keep track if people just want to speak, but you have to tell me your name and address and I can write it down. So does anyone want to speak at this time? Oh, I see. Russ.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess first I'd like to ask, are there particular, I read the article in Thursday's paper. Are there particular areas of greenfield, types of greenfield activity that I could be addressing here? I know the subjects that were outlined in the article that are not topics of discussion here, but are there particular areas of activity in Greenfield that this forum is meant to address or
No, not at all. You can bring up anything you'd like, but if it's a personnel issue, the council does not deal with personnel issues.
Yeah, okay.
If it's something else and I feel like, hey, maybe the school committee is a better fit for you, or maybe the recreation, then we're going to try to steer you that way. But I'm going to try to keep track of what people want to talk about, and then I'll know in the future if it's worth doing it this way. So go ahead.
Well, there are a couple of things that I'd like to mention. One that maybe could be addressed and one that realistically cannot be addressed.
So why don't you just do the one that can be addressed? Yeah. Okay. So you're kind to the rest of the people.
All right.
Okay.
I'm an avid recycler. I've been avid with recycling for a long time, and I feel disappointed when I see there are so few receptacles within Greenfield for people, specifically for recycling to be put in. The only ones that I know of within Greenfield are the two outside City Hall and the on at the entrance to the energy park. They used to be, before COVID shut things down 2.5 years ago, there had been one in front of Greenfields Market on Main Street, with a trash receptacle right next to it, like the ones at the front doors of City Hall. But those have been on for 2.5 years. And like a lot of people, I hate seeing recycling either just tossed onto the ground. I'm glad when people at least put it into a trash barrel. And if it's not inconvenient or ugly for me, I'll pull one out of there and put it into the recycling at home when I get home. So I don't know, thing that can be done to address that in Greenfield. Can the Department of Public Works, do they have the time and or the money to put out more receptacles where people are likely to walk by, and to empty those during their work week? So that's the topic that I think.
Okay, so
possibly.
Russ,
Yeah.
I'm going to put this back in your court a little bit.
All
So
right.
in front of Greenfields Market was your idea. So you were totally correct. DPW is exactly where you should go with this topic. But I think before you call them or reach out to them, if you have any places in particular, then that would be good if you could suggest those and then see if they do have the man or woman power to actually do this. But it's a good question. And again, it is a DPW one, but I think before you just throw that out there, Greenfield's a big place. It would be good if you got it down more specific at places that you think would be a good place for them to be.
Okay.
So, okay,
All right. Thank you.
thank you very much. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? If you don't want to write your name in the chat, you can just tell me, but you need to tell me your name and your address.
I'm not seeing any, Penny.
I would just add that I'd really like to have recycles up at Poet Seat Tower because I walk there every morning and I always come home with both my hands full.
Okay, can you tell me your name and address, please?
Sandra Boston, 15 Abbott Street, Greenfield. I've been meaning to do that, Russ, for a long time.
Yeah.
This is
Okay.
Nancy Hazard. I'd like to speak to that topic also.
Okay,
So Nancy Hazard, 30 Spring Terrace. And Russ, I want to thank you for bringing this up. I've brought it up a number of times, and I think if there's the more of us that bring it up, the better. And in my dream world, I would love to see along Main Street and also in the parks and stuff, that wherever there's a trash bin, that there's a recycling bin right next to it. So you have to make things, I think, really convenient in order for people to use them. So that would be my vote, and for whatever it's worth, carry that forward to the DPW. But if you have specific places that you'd like to see them, that would be great. Certainly Court Square would be a great place now that there's a vendor there, and you know, people are sitting there and using it more. So that's just one
Aren't they-
that's off the top of my head.
aren't they still in front of the city hall?
Oh yeah,
Well,
there is one, the solar compaction.
Right.
That's right. But yeah, you have to walk over to that.
Well,
And-
there's another one on an island of, I don't know what you call it, you know, dirt with a couple of trees in between City Hall and driveway next to Hawks and Reed. Is a barrel with a round
Oh, great.
hole at the top.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that information. And you bring up
Apparently,
good points because I know that when COVID happened, in the beginning, they didn't know about touch. And so I think lots of businesses brought in their garbage cans. And I know personally, I would love to have like CVS and Walgreens, all those places, put them back out again. Because I notice everybody just puts everything down in front of those stores. And I do feel bad for their staff. But I think COVID is what made everybody take trash cans away.
Mm.
So I don't know how to do it with businesses, how we can get them to put things back out, but it's a good point. So for those of you who want to see them around town, I'll say the same thing that I said originally is, if this is greening of Greenfield or something like that, if you could think of some places and then maybe get together and send one letter to DPW and say, hey, here's some ideas that we have. And then we can see if we even have the staffing for it. I think that's the biggest thing. It would be nice to have them, but if we don't have anybody to pick them up, that's a problem.
Yep.
But thank you.
Thank you,
Yep.
Penny, and thank you, Russ and Sandra.
Yes.
Okay.
John Moran?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep. What number Hope Street?
88.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I wanted to start out and say thank you to Russ and Nancy for bringing up the recycling. As an avid recycler, I appreciate that you're bringing it to our everybody else's attention. And for myself, I don't really know where I expect to get with this, but I figured, hey, I might as well bring it up.
Okay.
As you guys probably, as counselors, you recognized that during COVID, when videos or when meetings were held virtual, there was more attendance than ever than in-person meetings. And I know that there were people fighting for in-person meetings, and I get that too, but the hybrid is amazing. But unfortunately, since more meetings have gone into in-person, there are some committees that have been great about still offering the virtual and recording them and sending them to GCTV. GCTV doesn't usually go to the committees. It's up to the committees to send them to GCTV. That's what I spoke to somebody over there. And they're only contracted to do certain meetings. There are some subcommittees that were great when I reached out to them about starting to do them hybrid because they were only doing them in person, like the Public Safety Commission. Butch Hawkins was amazing. It took one time for me to ask him, and he started doing them at the town hall and does the Zoom. And so it's great that, if they can just push a button, it's recorded, send it to GCTV, and they can archive it. There are some committees who aren't as cooperative that I've been fighting with for months who don't want to do hybrid, even though they're meeting at the John's-On and they're meeting at the town hall with the equipment sitting right there. I've been back and forth with these committees. I've been sending Jaden to film these in person, but he's a teenager who's got other things going on. He doesn't want to go sit these boring meetings. I'm paying him out of my own pocket for a lot of these meetings that the committee members are refusing to even make accessible to the public. And you guys probably have seen, if something on the agenda is a hot topic, I make it a point to record it, I timestamp it, because not everybody has time to sit through those meetings. And so if there's some kind of policy or something that you can put in place with these committees, that now that we spent the equipment on this hybrid, especially these smaller committees that can meet at the town hall and easily have it be made available virtually or hybrid. Or if you guys want to pay my son to start going, because I can't afford to keep paying him out of my pocket. Or I don't know, if GCTV, and not GCTV, GSET wants to work out something, my son would be available. I don't know, but I just know that people got used to being able to know what's going on and be able to sit down later on at night and even read the timestamps and catch up on something. And it's getting more difficult now. And like I said, some committees are being difficult about providing the hybrid. So I don't know. I just wanted to bring that to your attention that people do like access to the meetings and there should be a policy.
Can you give me any examples of meetings that you would like to attend, but it's not hybrid?
Yes, the Historical Commission, especially, well, I mean, I won't go into my issues with why they need to be watched, but now that the CPA tax money is, something that the community is interested in how that's going to be used, and historical is one of the categories, and they're going to be making decisions on which applications go through, then that's definitely one that I've had an issue with trying to get that to be hybrid. And Jaden, I've been paying him to go to the meetings, and they're at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So people are working. The fire station committee, they've been great. Once I asked them, they continue with the hybrid. Library committee. So it's kind of ironic. It's the two committees that need to be, in my opinion, need to be watched most closely, are the two that are the ones that have been reluctant. Yeah, so, but pretty much the other committees, you guys are great. Like, this is great that you guys are offering this today, because, I'm going to obviously make sure it gets aired afterwards. The Ways and Means has been great, the chairs, and a lot of those committees, I think that they have been great about being transparent. So I don't really have any issues at all.
Okay, thank you so much. Nancy, did you want to add something?
Yes, I did. I sit on a committee called the Sustainable Greenfield Implementation Committee. And what that committee has decided to do recently is to record it. Well, actually, it's still online, but they're recording it, and it will be on GCTV. So that's a way maybe to, actually, no, I take this back. I don't understand all the technology. Never mind. I guess you have to
It's okay.
online to be able to record it, right? That's true. So your point is well taken.
Right, but we can look at that. Anyone can go on and look and see how the meetings are set up, if they're in person or on Zoom or whatever. You can look at the calendar, but thanks. If people want to know about that one, they can look it up. Thank
Penny,
you.
I have a question.
Yes.
When we're talking about these meetings, there is no council entity that is not available. These are all kind of committees that are mayoral in that function. All of our council things are available and online and have either hybrids or available on GCTV. So obviously we can make recommendations and try to help, but obviously it's really not our purview on the other committees. Just a thought that I agree, but I know President Gilmore made sure that we had everything up and rolling for hybrids and meetings and all of that when it comes to the council business. And if anyone has trouble with that, I'd be more than happy to assist with those. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Councilor Gwynn. It's such a good point. So people should be reaching out to the mayor or to Chief of Staff Letourneau to let them know, like, we really want to attend these meetings. Is there a way that you can, help us to get them to be online? And that's why I like to have this meeting tonight, is because so often people come to our council meetings and they bring all this stuff up, but it's so hard because we can't turn around and do anything. Councilor Gwynn is correct. So. Anything else from anyone?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question.
Sure.
Is there any group on the council that's interacting with this whole question of whether our chief of police is going to be recertified or not? Is that the purview?
That is a,
Hmm?
yep. That is a personnel issue, and council does not deal with personnel issues at all. That is a question for the mayor and public safety. It's not under our purview at all.
Wow. So we're all just sort of waiting to see what the mayor's going to do.
Well, have you spoken to her?
No. I just wondered if there was any group on the council that was overseeing this or concerned about it. I mean, I guess everyone's concerned about it, but
Okay, at this time, let Councilor Forgy come in and address this. Is she here still?
She's on mute.
Okay,
Looks like she's working on it though.
okay.
Penny, we also have a resident in the chat with their hand up also.
Okay. Perfect, okay. Jesus, I'll get to you in one moment. I just wanted to see if Councilor Forgy wanted to address.
Okay, can you hear me all right?
Yes, yep,
Okay,
perfect.
thank you. Thank you. All this newfangled technology and everything else. All I can do or say right at the moment is that based on my experience as the mayor, Councilor Ricketts is correct that this is a personnel matter. It clearly belongs on the executive side of government. There are contracts. Contracts have clauses in them that talk about, what do I want to say, disciplinary action. They talk about termination. All those contracts are set out. And whether you agree with it or not, the way our government is put together right now, all of it belongs to the executive side. So council really only has the authority to, when it comes to the budget and expenditures and approval and changes in the law or money requests. Other than that, most other things belong to the mayor. It is frustrating. There's no doubt about it. I know that the council feels that frustration, and in a way, we wish there was more that we can do, but we really cannot interfere in any of it. We can make our feelings known. We all have personal opinions. We have professional opinions as well. But again, certification belongs under the purview of personnel management. And it's up to the mayor to see to it that everything is done correctly and above board and without favoritism. I guess that's about as basic as we can get. If in the future, it doesn't seem like the government is working the way we want it to, it would take a charter change to change our form of government away from a strong mayor to make a strong council. And there are lots of different combinations that can happen. You know, it's just not one way or the other way, or going backwards or going this way or that way. There's been a lot of suggestions, particularly with my work on the Charter Commission, about how we want to approach a future structure of government. So I would just, you know, suggest that everybody think about that, keep it in the back of their mind. But at this point, we are kind of unable to affect any change at this point. Again, the budget is coming up, or we will have a new budget coming up, and that is when the council can do its best work. So I just ask everybody to keep that in mind. Thank you, Councilor Ricketts.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councilor Forgy. Hey,
Can I just add something very quickly before we move away from
yes.
this topic?
please.
So any charter changes also have to be signed off on by the mayor. So there's kind of a bit of a challenge there too.
Good point. Yes. Thank you for that. Yeah, there is a process. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you. Hey, Jesus, could I have your address, please?
Sure. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay. 32 High Street, apartment 6, Greenfield, Massachusetts.
Floor is yours.
Okay. So, part of this is our questions or ideas that I want to address with you directly, Councilor Ricketts. In the past, when we had discussions on a personal property matter that related to me, you had suggested that when it concerned the fire department, that I bring it forward to Public Safety Commission. And I did, and that ended up being a really useful thing to do. So I thank you for that. And I think that it is really important for people to try and exhaust all conventional options before taking different approaches. But I think a lot of what we're seeing here is that the conventional options have been exhausted, which is why, you know, people are bombarding city council with issues relating to the police department and whatnot. I had actually attended a meeting of the Public Safety Commission in or around June. So because I wanted to understand how the Public Safety Commission was responding to, reacting to, and what their, how they were addressing the issues that were being brought forward by the public. And to the extent that they're aware of them, in some ways they're sort of a non-entity in this conversation. And that again, I guess, kicks the questions up to city council and to the mayor. I mean, it's part, so I had a very good and very long private conversation with Butch Hawkins of the Public Safety Commission. He was very honest about all of the issues that were being discussed publicly. And he was very forthcoming in the idea that he doesn't really feel that Public Safety Commission has the authority or ability to properly address police misconduct issues. And if he, as the chair of the Public Safety Commission, doesn't feel he has the resources, budget, or authority to address those issues, the Public Safety Commission is the first body that is supposed to address those issues, then followed by the mayor.
No, so that's very interesting to hear.
And I just want to add one quick thing, which is
Yep.
that Public Safety Commission, while they do have meeting times and dates, they're one of the few meetings that isn't posted in advance on the calendar. So like right now, if you go to the city calendar, the Public Safety Commission meeting isn't posted. Makes it very hard for us in the general public to track and follow these things. I know it's the 28th because I looked at the meeting minutes from the previous meeting, but that is a very difficult and convoluted way to find out when a meeting time is.
Councilor Forgy has her hand up. I think she wants to respond to Jesus.
Yes, please, Councilor Forgy.
You're
You're
muted.
still on mute.
How's that?
Yes.
Is that
I can hear
better?
you.
You can hear me? Thank you very much. So getting back to what I was speaking about before, which is the charter. Here's what I know from my experience. I'll share it with you. The Public Safety Commission, by charter, is one of the committees or commissions in this city that has an enormous amount of power. And if you read the charter, you will understand that they can participate in investigations, in whether it's police or fire, in coordination with the mayor, because it is the mayor's appointments that serve on that committee. They actually have subpoena powers. And I know this for a fact because of having served as mayor and having conversations with people that were on the original charter committee to put the charter together. These were people that were voted on by citizens in Greenfield to look to form the first charter in the city. So with respect to Jesus, to what was said to you, public safety, they're commissioners for a reason and not committee, okay? And there is a definition in legal terms that helps to explain the difference. But they, again, looking at charter, they have an enormous amount of power, including the power to subpoena. So just so you know, there's a lot of information that really never gets talked about publicly. This is why the forum that's going on this evening is such a good idea, because when you bring questions forward, it it tells me that there's been a pattern perhaps of not everybody, including the people that are serving the citizens of Greenfield, really understanding what their responsibility is towards the citizens. The mayor has the authority to appoint them and she has the authority to remove them, and they can act independent from her if need be by subpoena authority. So I just wanted to put that out there so folks understand that this government was created in a certain way. It's just that I don't think we have really taken advantage of everything that was included in the charter and the powers that were set up to be included in the charter. I hope you find that helpful. Thank you, Councilor Ricketts.
Oh, thank you, Councilor Forgy. That was good. Jesus, I hope that helps some, and not to be a broken record, but again, like Councilor Gwynn was saying earlier, is that this information needs to get to the other side. This needs to get to the mayor's side. And these meetings need to be public, and it needs to be posted so that people can attend if need be. This is
sorry.
not to have people not all come to council meeting. Please understand that. I just feel bad when people come and they spend an hour and a half of public comment talking to us about some of this, because if the mayor's not in the room, then nothing's going to get fixed because we can't do it. It's only the residents who have to be able to either make an appointment with the mayor or with, Danny Letourneau, and try to sit down and let them know this is what you would like, because we can't force them to do it. It's a checks and balances. And so the most important thing when people come forward is to see who's in the room, to make sure the right people are listening to what you want.
Councilor Ricketts, I think Jesus has a follow-up, and then Russ.
Okay, thank you. Jesus?
Sure. So, I mean, as Councillor Forgy said, everything she said was 100% correct. I agree with her completely. All of the things that she's describing are written into the charter. I discussed these things with Butch Hawkins of the Public Safety Commission. I sent him those relevant passages. The fact is, logistically, he as an individual does not believe that they are empowered as such. And that becomes a problem. And again, he's not in the room. I don't want to speak for him, but I think that many people in the public who were concerned about the police misconduct felt that it was appropriate for the Public Safety Commission to take up some of these complaints, and felt that they weren't being taken up, and it wasn't really clear why. I take the explanation that Commissioner Hawkins gave me at face value, which is that he doesn't feel that they have the appropriate amount of authority, budget, logistical power to be able to address the issues, and that he also says that they don't have the same kind of access to the police contracts as they do with the fire department contracts. To the extent that that's true, I am trying to take people at face value unless I have a reason not to. I have, as you suggested, Councillor Forgy, I read the charter, I understand it. You're 100% correct in all of your assertions, and I agree with those assertions 100%. The fact that it's not happening is, well, it's not happening. So I don't know what the change needs to be there. Obviously, this goes back to the mayor. To the extent that the mayor will take comments from the public in general during her office hours, we have a city of 17,000 people, presumably several thousand of them could be wanting to contact her at any time for any particular issues. And to the extent that everybody has to contact her on issues unrelated to those that are before the public, as I have, we all have different relationships with the mayor and or different public officials. So yeah, sure, I would love to have a conversation with the mayor or Danny Letourneau on this issue. I haven't, and I believe I'm not going to get to. Not because I think they're bad people, but because I think that they have a very strong difference of opinion on what all of this means.
Oh, okay, so I'm hearing you. And even more, can we not step in? I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but I would make an appointment. I would at least get turned down first. And then, you know, maybe that's something council could hear, is that people have been trying to set up appointments to discuss something in the mayor's office, and they're just never getting it. But that's not been my experience. Like, I have not gotten emails, and believe me, we get emails about everything.
No, I know.
I haven't received anything that said I've reached out to the mayor, but she will not take a meeting with me. So I just needed to start someplace. Councilor Quinn, did you want to say something before I call Russ again?
No, we'll go on to us. I just want, you know, we're all the three of us keep repeating the same issue. The charter clearly gives the Public Safety Commission equal ability for police and fire. There's not a weighted situation where one has more than the other. I've been through this charter. We reviewed it in A&O this year. We built on this. It falls directly upon the executive side to figure out why a committee that she appoints feels that they don't have the power that is given to them by our charter, which is our governing body. So there's where it lies. Whether, I don't know the answer, but it is the answer. And I think Jesus recognizes that. So there it lies. And I believe Russ is the next one, Penny.
Okay, Russ, and then Stephanie Duclos after Russ. Okay, Russ, since you've already spoken before, do you want to yield your time to Stephanie, and then I'll come back to you just because it's her first time speaking?
Yeah, that's fine. Sure.
Thank you. Team player, Stephanie Duclos. What number Chapman Street?
166.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I have a couple concerns with winter approaching and the homeless. We spend an awful lot of time interacting with the homeless, my partner and I, and there's a lot of needs that are unmet. There's a lot of complaints about a lot of trash in the areas down by behind Rite Aid and the dog park. I did some research, and it appears that we're going to have about $4 million in free cash. And I don't know if there's any recommendations to have some of that money maybe, you know, deal with some of the homeless issues. I think that's it for now.
Okay, so I would just like to bring up one thing. So as far as the dog park, I've only been there a couple times, and I will say, I cannot believe how absolutely beautiful it is. And I will say that the homeless folks that are around that area really take care of that place. And if there's anything that they need to continue to keep that place clean, I would hope somebody would reach out, because I would be willing to drop something off there if it's something they needed, but I do know someone that's down there who keeps an eye on everything, and I know the pickleball court people are really happy with the homeless down there and how much they keep it clean, and they look out for stuff and make sure there's not lots of trouble and stuff. So the Rite Aid, I really can't speak to. I don't know what the answer is besides.
I just wanted to let you know that down there is a bunch of abandoned stuff, because apparently there's a gentleman that had just gotten housing at the Winslow and abandoned a lot of his items down on by that area where they're you know, by the dog park in that area, but not in the woods where they're all camping. And but trash bags would help, maybe a day set aside for the DPW to come and maybe park a truck there so we can just load it up with the trash on the side. I mean, we have the Green River cleanup coming up Saturday, I believe. And, you know, maybe getting some of those camps cleaned out. I mean, if that's going to be their permanent home and there's abandoned property and trash, and, you know, maybe we can include those spaces, even though they're not just along the riverside. I know that they're in need of pillows and blankets at this time for those people who are staying outdoors. I think that's about all I can think of at the moment.
Well, thank you for that. And I do have some trash bags, and I will try to figure out a way that I could drop them down there by the picnic tables or something if they want to use them for something. As far as like pillows and blankets and things like that, I hope that people reach out to the Salvation Army, because I know that's one place where I donate things every year, because I know lots of the homeless go there to get coffee or to check in daily. And so they
I
get
know that
salt.
there's got to be, I'm sorry to interrupt, Penny. I know that
It's okay.
they need someone to at least go down there and interact, whether that be someone from CSO, from the community health department, coming down and helping the outreach, because a lot of these people, even though those programs are literally across the street from them, they don't know how to access them, or, you know, or have the depression so bad that they can't muster up going across the street and advocating for themselves. So I think that if maybe there on some committee can be added, whether it's a community relations committee or whatever other committee, maybe a position where they can go out and outreach, so we know where good funds can be spent, and, you know, really interact and see what they really need. And I know that takes going down there to them. You know, we all have good intentions. We all donate and we give to the food banks, and, you know, we do that, but doesn't always reach them. So, you know, maybe something, you know, something that can be addressed at town council even. Thanks.
Okay, and again, I don't want to reinvent the wheel, because I want to make sure that we're covering the places that are working really hard, like Stone Soup and our churches, because there is a place for the homeless to eat every single day now of the week. And it never used to be like that, and now it is. And I know that they have resources at all those places, so they can try to connect people. So before we start something new, just remember that they do come, many of them do come to eat, and they do come to Stone Soup. They come to the Federal Street Church, the one that's further down on Main Street. They do come to Salvation Army. So yeah, it's having maybe some resources at those places to talk to the folks, because they're already coming someplace. Like you said, they just need somebody to listen. But it doesn't need a new committee. It just means connecting with the places they already are. Thank you so much, though.
Penny, I just had one quick comment.
Yes.
When Stephanie mentioned the Green River cleanup that's coming up on, I believe it is the 24th, that's a community-based project also. You know, it's not a city-based project. It's a community-based volunteer project, another one of the many. We meet with them every year, and it's all of the contributaries to the Connecticut River that they try to clean up on this weekend.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. They do a great job. Okay, does anyone else? Oh, Russ, you still want to ask again?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
thank you. Yeah, thank you. A few minutes ago, Councilor Forgy mentioned that committees and commissions are different bodies. And just because you mentioned it, Counselor Forgy. Could you speak for just a moment or so? I'm curious, what is the difference between a commission and a committee, and do each of these basically serve at the pleasure of the mayor? Thanks.
She's just unmuting herself. She'll be right with you.
Yep.
There you
Okay,
go.
can you hear
All
me?
right. Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
Very good.
Yep. We can hear you.
Okay, so it's a nuanced difference. So you'd have to go to Massachusetts law to look it up. I mean, really, I'm not the expert on that.
Yeah.
A committee itself, a commission is different in that it has certain legal authorities that would not be granted to a committee.
Okay.
One of those authorities include subpoena power.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a major difference, is what the law says the commission can do, as opposed to a committee. There are, like, for instance, if you were going to, if the city decided that they wanted to change the form of government, then they'd have to put together a charter commission. And those would have to be elected officials that the populace of Greenfield, the people in Greenfield, would have to vote for them. So they'd have to put their names forward. It would have to be on the ballot, and people would have to be elected to the commission in order to make that huge sea change. A committee, and most of the committees that I'm aware of, and the commissions as they stand right now, are all appointees of the mayor. And that's the way the charter has set them up. Now, the council is able to form like an ad hoc groups to look at a specific issue, like the fire station funding. There's a small group pulled out from that. And then there are also references in the charter to the fact that if they're going to be joint commissions or ad hoc committees or whatever, depending on what the purpose of the committees were, they could be named by the mayor or by a committee chair or by a council president. But somebody has to be the appointing authority to that committee or commission in order for them to have the legitimacy to operate on behalf of the city of Greenfield. I mean, Councillor Gwynn could probably, is a good example. He recently has put together an ad hoc committee to study not even study, to actually, I guess, yes, to look into and study. Maybe Councillor Gwynn would like to speak to it, but that is the piece about 7.7 of our charter. And that's the one where how many people do you need for referendum, or do you need for a citizens referendum or whatever? I don't know, Councillor Gwynn might want to explain that particular piece. But basically, I do want to say a couple things. I'm glad you asked me that question. One of the things is that there always has to be an elected official, some sort of appointing authority to a group. Okay. People elect us. Okay. So our mandate comes from people. So anybody who serves on the council, speaking in theoretical terms, we are all political equals. We are equal to the school board. We are equal to the mayor because we are all elected officials. If any of us, or say the mayor or the school committee or the council, put together other groups of people, then the mandate for them to serve comes through the authority of our elected office. So that's why it's really critical when you think about participating in an election, how you want to be sure of the candidates that you're going to elect, because they're the ones that have your mandate, and they're the ones that are responsible to you. But in order to get their jobs done, they use that authority to appoint other folks to do the work that, let's face it, we're not full-time. We can't do everything all the time, but if we divide into little work groups, we get more done. So that's kind of the authority. I also wanted to say, in response to what Jesus was speaking about, when you look at contracts are public records, period. So any committee that exists and says they don't have access to a contract is incorrect. All contracts, now, not personnel issues within those contracts, not for Chris Forgy, who did something wrong, I'm protected by personnel law. But all contracts, what people are getting paid, what their contracts give them, if they're independent contracts, if they're union contracts, they are all public information, and everybody should have access to all of that. So it's to me, it's really critical that people understand where the authorities come from. And again, as Councilor Ricketts has been saying, that's an executive function. People say, well, I don't get a response. Then one of the things I would say to them is, haunt the halls, or send snail mail, or send email. You're building a public record. When you do something like that, you are putting in place a public record, and that will serve if you're making the case that I'm not getting the response that I want or I needed. So please understand this is so nuanced, but basically that's how our government runs. So Russ, that's a long-winded answer, but does that answer your question?
It does. And if I may, I'm going to ask one follow-up question. And if
Well, you know what? I just want to see if anyone else wants to speak first. And if
Okay.
not, then I'll come back to you, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else that's present like to speak? You could just say your name and address. I see you there. I just don't want to call your name just in case you don't want to speak.
I don't see anyone, Penny, looking to speak.
Okay.
So,
All right,
my
go ahead, Russ.
Okay, follow-up question for clarification and so I'm clear on this. The Public Safety Commission, the members of that, or the creation of that, that was not created by the voters, correct? It was
Correct.
created by mayor or
Yes.
Okay, and the people who serve on that commission, are they appointed by the mayor or voted on by town? Okay.
Appointed by the mayor.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Let me respectfully disagree with one point.
Whoa!
The public.
Oh, no, not that.
The public voted on the charter. The Public Safety Commission is part of the charter.
Okay.
So I would say that when you voted for the charter, that is part of it. And when we make changes to the charter, there's a process. So the Public Safety Commission is an entity that we have to fulfill according to city charter.
Okay.
It is up to the mayor, whomever they be, to appoint people, not as they come into office, but as their terms expire.
I see. All right, thank you for that clarification.
Okay, thank you, Russ. Anyone else have any question? And before anybody else does jump on, I just want to ask Stephanie Duclos, will you be at council on Wednesday night? I just want to bring the garbage bags and I could give them to you if you're there.
We're going to take some pictures for you because I think garbage bags as wonderful as they are.
Okay,
know
so then if
there's
it's
gonna
not,
be
if
a
it's not
lot.
enough, then it's a DPW. You need to,
Yeah,
you need to connect with them and,
sorry, I'm getting feedback in that.
okay, then if it's a bigger thing than that, that's really difficult. Because we don't have, our DPW is not up to full. So it will be really hard. So you can reach out to Janine and Marlo and let them know. And maybe when they're down there emptying the garbage that's down there, the trash, you know, they can take a look at the woods and stuff and see. But that is a difficult thing. I know when that happened to Mayor Martin's property at one point, he hired a truck to clean it up because it was his property and he had allowed some homeless to be there, but it got way out of control. So, I mean, the DPW, no one could, you know, get a truck and bill anybody in particular. So they need to take a look and see really what's down there and can they do something about it? And it also runs the risk, like, yes, they could do that, but it doesn't say that it won't just get like that again. So it's a tough discussion. So I think you speaking with Janine and Marlo, that would be the best way to start this whole conversation about what needs to be cleaned up and stuff, because again, they do it there. It's not the only homeless camp that we have in town. I know we have one up by Port Seed. I know we have it at Stop and Shop. I know one behind Home Depot, Bill Martin's old property and stuff. So once you start, then you need to start cleaning up all of them, and people may start to leave things purposely because somebody is cleaning up, and it could be people that go down there and even drop stuff that don't even live there. So have the conversation with them first and see where that goes. But thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Councilor Ricketts, I don't know if you want to ask one last time for anyone new, and then Jesus once again is asking to speak again, but if we're going to continue on that.
No, if it's about the public safety, I feel like I want to be done with that because they actually.
Penny, you're muted.
Penny, you went to mute.
Yep. So, yeah, so I would like to stop with the public safety questions or comments now, because again, we need to get this in the right direction and start getting this to the mayor's desk. People need to start making an appointment to try to get in to discuss it. And the meetings that are on the calendar, people can show up and just try to be there. And, you know, I don't mean to brush anybody off, but we can't force anything at this point. So let's start pushing it in the right direction. And so Jesus wants to speak, and then I don't have anyone else, correct? Okay, Jesus. Oh, Frank. Can you tell me your address, Frank? How are you?
Hi there. My name is Frank Trapanese. I live at 40 Stetson Drive. I don't know exactly what this meeting's about as far as comments. Can we bring up any topic? Is that
anything? Yes.
Okay. I guess compared to the homeless problem and everything else, this may seem petty. I don't know, but we live on a city-owned dirt road, and that's in horrible condition, and we've tried to work with the mayor's office many times, and they've even come up with a report where they want us to pay $130,000 pre-COVID prices to upgrade city-owned land. You know, I don't really know how to go about addressing the fact that they want us to appropriate our private money and we already pay taxes for public land. You know, just to get the road taken care of that they've owned since at least 1985. So I've worked with our former counselor Jarvis, emailed the mayor's office. I've been haunting the halls, I guess, if you will, for the last, I don't know, 8 years, plus the former residents. They've been on this topic with the city since the late 70s, and we get zero traction. The only traction we get is, we have to have 100% agreement and pay $130,000 on top of the $7,000 I already pay in property taxes to get a road that's safe to get to our house. The road's only 400 feet. They took it for a tax title back in the 80s, and we've been in this state of limbo since then. So I don't really know how to approach it. I mean, the mayor's not interested in changing any rules. I guess she told Councilor Jarvis, like other cities and towns in the Commonwealth have changed. So I don't know what to do. That's all the comment I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. So have you spoken to Marlo Warner, and he's also supporting the same thing, that they would do the roads, but the people who live on that road have to pay for the upgrade?
Yes, they did put a whole report together, and we've talked to Marlo. He's come out to the house. We tried to get the mayor to come out to the house, but she won't come out unless, we get all 8 abutters to come visit us. I mean, to write a letter to her to request an audience or whatever. Anyhow, yeah, they did put a report together, and they're putting it under the betterments policy that the town covers. But, from what I understand, that's mostly for sewers and septics and everything else. And, unfortunately, you're never going to get 100 people, 100% of abutters to agree on anything. And so we're never going to have a decent road. And, I'm happy for downtown, get new roads and new sewers and everything else like that. It's great. All that stuff is necessary, but, out here on the other end of town, it's necessary for us too. So, but that's all I got. Thank you.
So I want to be clear. So the abutters, there's 8 of you, 7 or 8 families. Are you saying that everybody has to agree on what's done on the road?
Yeah, so there's 7 houses, there's 8 abutters. 1 house is on Barton Road, and their property swings around and comes onto the road. We would need under the city's betterments policy, we would need 100% abutter approval to take on a betterments lien against their house to pay for the upgrades to bring this road that was approved in the 60s to today's subdivision standards, in order for the city to accept the road and then use Chapter 90 funds to add the 400 feet of our road to their Chapter 90's mileage to then pave the road. It's an uphill battle. I've been fighting for years. We're not getting anywhere. We're never going to get anyone to agree to anything. Other cities and towns in the Commonwealth have retroactively accepted roads like ours at the time of approval, which is years ago, plus wear and tear. This road was always supposed to be paved, and part of this whole Barton Road community, there's even manholes and drainage already in the road back from years and years ago. It just fell through the cracks. And unfortunately, without getting a land attorney for the abutters, I don't really know what to do. We're kind of like at a dead end. The mayor's office is no longer interested unless we all agree to pay. And, like I said, it could be petty, sounds petty compared to other issues, but this has been going on for a very long time. And not just with my household, but, several other households for the last 40 years.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. My fellow counselors, I'm
Counselor,
only thinking about going up higher. Like,
Counselor Ricketts, we've got two counselors with their hands up.
okay, please. Counselor Gilmore. Yeah.
Well, Chris was ahead of me.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, President Gilmore. I think you mentioned something about, Frank, you mentioned that everybody on the road would have to get a land court attorney or something like that.
Oh, I just
My-
said short of that, we don't know what our
Right.
legal rights are.
Right. So my question to you is that you were receiving information back about it would be qualified under the heading of a betterment.
Right.
And that is, I can understand that. That's for anything. If you want sidewalks or sewer or whatever you want, that's fine. My question is this, does the city have a legal opinion about this? Have you ever seen a letter from the city councilor, not council, saying that this is indeed the case?
Nothing recent. I did see a legal opinion that was attached to the old deed of the road that they took over years ago, that
Okay.
they talked with, I mean, this is back from the 80s. So I don't know if it still stands. I don't know if anything has changed with state law. I have no idea, but nothing recent.
Okay, thank you. That was just informational. Also, you have a new counselor in one, that's Catherine Golob.
Right.
And maybe you should reach out and give her some history on this and see what she's willing to do as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor Gilmore?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, kind of going to, you know, what Frank was talking about, and also Jesus. Like I don't want to sound insensitive because I really understand how frustrated people are, but the city, if the mayor won't act, the city council has no authority or mechanism to
Right.
strong arm her into doing anything. I mean, and a lot of these things that we've been talking about tonight are strictly executive. They're not legislative. So I mean, the buck really stops there. And I want to help, but I'm not going to be able to bring about any more change than a resident. I mean, she certainly doesn't listen to me. I ran against her. So I'm the last person she wants to hear from. And I think that when those avenues are exhausted, if you're really not getting what you need, I mean, this is why we have elections every couple of years. I mean, sometimes that's just what it comes down to.
Okay, thank you. The other thing I was going to bring up, and I don't know if this is good or bad, but I was wondering if reaching out to Joe Comerford and Paul Mark for some help to help with even getting legal opinion on that road would help, because maybe they will come out and give some direction, because I'm sure they're in so many communities that they may have a good idea. So maybe start with
wrote
the
a
email
letter.
to those two.
I wrote a letter to Paul Mart, and he basically said what Councilor Gilmore just said, you know, kind of all we can do is pass it on to the city. We can't force the city to do anything. I even explained to him, I said, you know, hey, I understand, you know, the road is unaccepted and state law prevents the city from appropriating funds to it. I get that. The law doesn't prevent the city from retroactively accepting the road. It doesn't prevent the city from changing their charter or whatever they have to address this issue. Greenfield only has 5 unaccepted ways or recognized way in existence that they own. And the thing is, you know, in the past, people have said, oh, you know, it's a private way. Well, it's not a private way. I'm not asking for city to appropriate funds for my private driveway. You know, I don't own the road. My property line stops at the road. It doesn't go to the middle of the road like a traditional private way. It's a private way in the sense that it's an unaccepted way, but there's 5 in the city. And I really think, you know, it's not the biggest project that the city could, you know, eliminate this problem and, you know, finish it.
Councilor Ricketts,
Thank
I
you.
have a follow-up question.
Yeah, thanks, please.
Frank, my question to you is, on the time you bought the house, what did they tell you on purchase about the road? What was their disclosure to you about the road when you bought the house? Because I don't know if you've owned the house for 40 years or when you bought the house, but I'm just wondering what they told you on point of purchase, because that's when the disclosure of the road should have been put in the forefront. So I'm just
They're not
curious.
required to disclose that this is an unaccepted way. That's not a requirement.
So they didn't have to tell you.
No.
Okay, I'm just curious, you know, if when you enter, how long have you owned that property?
Well, I personally have been an owner for what, 6 years.
Okay.
My spouse has owned it for 12.
I'm just trying to figure out the time frame as what they tell people when
Right.
When a house on that road becomes available, because it's interesting that I mean, you have to disclose so many things in a transaction that I just would think they would tell you
Right.
that the road is
This is not it's not something that they have to disclose. It's also not a unique to Greenfield issue. This is a huge issue in the Commonwealth. And what's funny about this issue is that even, you know, further out east, it's a bigger issue. You have, you know, multi-million-dollar homes on unaccepted ways, and these people don't even find out that that 4-foot wide hole that's getting bigger and bigger is on them, because the city has never, you know, accepted it, and they're, you know, who knows what they're paying for property taxes.
I think that would be the letter I would write to Paul Mark.
Well,
You know,
I already,
because if it's
I
a
already
statewide issue and there's hundreds of these, he can't do Greenfield, but they could do some legislation that makes it a disclosure piece on point of purchase, which would protect
Right.
people like yourselves. And we're going way out of the scope of city council at this moment, but I was just trying to get some background. But thank you for coming in and
right.
talking.
I mean,
with
you
us.
know, the truth is clearly, you know, when you purchase a house on a dirt road, you know, you live on a dirt road.
Right.
The issue is that, you know, right now as we speak, my road is washing away, and you know, it's the 1-lane travel that is to get there is getting narrower and narrower because there isn't proper drainage. And you know, the truth is that I've had to have the fire truck come out here. I've had to have the chief come out here just to check the road to make sure that they can get to our home in the event of a fire. You know, I think that's crazy. I think it's crazy that I have to continue to fight the mayor's office and put them on blast to say, hey, you know, we're paying a lot of money here. We don't even know if a fire truck can come save our home in the event of a fire. You know, it's crazy. So it's not just the convenience of having a paved road. It's, you know, the need to have a safe road, and we don't have that. So that's the rest of my comment. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much. If I can think of anything, I'll reach out to you, because I think I've received the email from you before. But yeah, this is a quandary to me, but thank you.
Penny, I don't see
People have
anyone
to
new
correct.
looking to speak with us.
Yes. Do we have no one else? Jesus, did
We
you
have-
want to talk about something different? Or is your hand still up from before? I'm not sure.
So I just, since you guys were talking about appointments and appointments being made by the mayor and the charter approved by the city council, does have to approve appointments, right?
This is Councilor Gwynn. Yeah.
No, we have to affirm them. We do not have the ability to accept. We can only reject. We affirm the appointments, and our guideline for that is only based on someone's character And any time that there's been an issue to their character or their ability to perform when it's being asked to them, it's an affirmation, not an acceptance.
I mean, are there communities where it's actually city council actually has like veto power over appointments, or are we unique in that? Or
I do not believe so.
Yeah, the mayor can veto us. Like say the council didn't affirm. Isn't it true, Councilor Gwynn, that then the mayor could veto and
Yeah,
put that
it's
person
probably not
on?
going to happen, but affirmation is the true word. We don't accept, and it is that, and that is normally done if there was a problem with someone's character or some kind of that. It's really not. We don't have a guideline that would allow us to just arbitrarily reject people because they don't go along a political thought. President Gilmore might have something to add to that.
I think someone actually was rejected once, and then they ended up running for council.
Yes, that's true.
I think it was planning board that they wanted to be on. They were rejected largely for political reasons. Ran for city council, and then,
Yeah, it's as you know, when I came back this time, I tried to get us back to get us to affirm those, because if you look at our job on A&O and as council, it's not to, if we reject, it's got to be based on a problem, not someone's, because someone doesn't like them, you know what I mean, or their political affiliation. I mean, even on the old council, there was someone that's done a lot for this town that was challenged during the 4G nominations, affirmations, and it can happen, but that's our given authority.
Right.
Okay.
I have voted not to affirm somebody before as a counselor, and they still got in because, the majority voted to, and I voted no. So, but good question. Thank you.
so I don't want to take up any more time on this, because I know you guys basically have said it over and over again. Basically, you're telling us the answer is to vote the mayor out. And I mean, like, whether it's the road issue or whether it's, I mean, we do, there are so many people in the community who feel strongly about this. And, like at points, like I have reached out to no less than 5 different state agencies on unrelated problems. Like I have, for my own personal issues, I have had to file a complaint with the State Ethics Commission. I have had to call the Attorney General's office. I have had to call the State Building and Building Commission. I have contacted Joanne Comerford on the police issue. I did actually reach out to the Post Commission. I know that 6 other counselors have, either as part of the public complaint or on their own. So I know that counselors don't have counselor ability.
Okay, so hey, Jesus, we've gone over this so many times.
Okay, all right, sorry. Okay.
Okay,
Well,
we just don't have it, and what happens is it makes people continue to come to us, and it doesn't solve the problem. Again, I try to look in the chat and I see that the mayor is not even, well, first of all, she's not even in the state, but she's not in this meeting, so she has no idea. So we don't mind hearing all these things, and that's why I had this night, is try to help educate the public that come into council is, yes, Council 4G was right, Council Gilmore, that we do feel the same way about lots of different issues, but it's not under our purview. And so, and this is what
Counselor-
happens on a council night. Sometimes we're there for an hour and a half, and we haven't even started our own business yet. And we haven't been able to even hear one thing that helps us make a decision about the millions of dollars we have to spend that night, or all the work that we have to do. So.
Yeah, can I just say that I've reached out to a lot of these same state agencies, and They don't see, so even though like I'm the council president and I'm supposed to have all of this power, they don't see me as being any different from anyone else who is not the mayor. And if they call me back at all, which they usually don't, their suggestion is, well, let's have a meeting with the mayor. Because we don't have executive authority.
Right. Thank you. Don Moran, is your hand still up from before, or is that new?
That's
No,
new.
it's new.
Okay, thank you.
So I think what we're taking from this meeting, there's a lot of stuff that it's just the mayor's in charge, and a lot of us have hands tied. You guys have your hands tied. So I want you all to take a deep breath, breathe through it like the labor pain, and remember she's going to be pushed out soon. Remember this at the next vote.
Okay.
That was a very interesting analogy there.
Right.
And can I just caution, I just like to caution people, just be careful and let's try to keep this on a professional basis and try
Yes,
to
please.
keep this above board. And the second thing too is whether I agree with the mayor or not, or any mayor in the past, we also have to make sure what we're asking the mayor to do is in their authority. There are things that we say that I get accused of as a counselor that says, oh, well, the council's not doing anything. We say, well, that's not in our authority. You should check with the mayor. There are some things that people want done that aren't in the mayor's authority either. So I'm just always make sure that we check to see if, I'd like my taxes to be lower. You know what I mean? I'd like a lot of things to happen, and it's not going to happen. There's nothing no mayor's going to have a magic wand either. I think I got the pleasure of working with one of the best mayors that the city ever had. And she was able to accomplish a lot, but there's many things that her and I just had to do the same thing and realize we can't fix it. There are just some things that can't happen. But if it's stuff that the mayor's not doing that's within their authority, then you have every right to vote as you wish when that time comes to change that.
Good point. And the thing I wanted to add to that, Counselor Gwen, is that number one is that, remember, the community voted for a strong mayor. This is the former government people wanted. The same as like different projects that's going on, things that are happening and stuff. You got to remember the things that the community did vote on. And as much as we talked about public safety, stuff like that, I'm saying I'm a counselor and I check my email every day, sometimes a few times a day, and I have not received one email on this topic. And there's probably people out there that are frustrated and feel something, but maybe they are going to the mayor and I just don't know it. But it's not coming to council right now because the clerk sends every email to every one of us. And it's not happening. So something that one of you may be upset about right now, understand it's really you right now. So make that appointment in the mayor's office because it's really not coming to us. So it should go to where it belongs. And who do I have?
Councilor Rickett, you have two hands in the air for people that have spoken multiple times. Russ is next, and then you can make a decision on the rest.
Okay, yes, because you all are just like determined for me not to eat dinner tonight, or what's going on, Russ? No, I'm being serious. Like, this was a nice night to have, but we're getting to an hour and a half. So please tell me.
I was just curious what an unaccepted way was. That's all. I don't need to know that, but
Oh, for the road? Yeah, you do not.
All right, thank you. All right.
Yes, I'm sorry, but I do know other people that go through things too. Like, the people on Highland Avenue, for the longest time, they were in charge of their own road, the plowing, the sewer. They have to pay for that. I know someone who lives up that way who just told me that last winter they had to pay for all the sewer work that was there. It's part of their property.
There ought to be a law.
So, you know, it's the only way that I learn these things also. So Jesus, and then maybe we can wrap this up unless someone new would like to speak.
Okay, I'm unmuted. So no, I get it. It's not in your purview. And like, I just
Thank
wanna,
you.
I just wanna end by saying part of the problem here, and this has for the most part been resolved, but this is going back to, again, a personal property issue of mine. So I contacted the mayor's office. This was like maybe April of 2 years ago to ask for a meeting. I didn't get that meeting until a year later. And one of the things that we asked with the meeting, Councillor Forgy was present at that meeting, is we asked for the abutting property owner to split the cost of repaving a driveway. What I did not really understand at the time, but certainly that the city should have understood, is that the city was actually the owner of the abutting property by tax title. And so they had more than enough power to actually make that happen, and simply made the choice not to. Now, and then a year later, I would be sent a notice of from the health department citing that same driveway for it not being paved, which is why I ended up filing a complaint with the State Ethics Commission. And then again, like, you know, Ginny DeSorger at a, you know, September 20th, 2020, like Ways and Means Committee, she asked the assessor's office very directly if we had the ability to collect taxes from that property owner. The assessor said no, because she didn't know that we in fact did have that ability. And I had to have a lawyer, you know, look it up to be able to confirm that in fact the city did have that ability. And I don't think the assessor knew that. But I mean, that's when, if like, we don't have the resources as individual like property owners to know these things. We're counting on, you know, the information that we're being given by, you know, city agencies. And it becomes increasingly frustrating to have to feel like we have to contact a state entity to oversee the operations of our own city.
Okay.
And, you know, like, it cost me money. Like, I had to spend like thousands of dollars on a lawyer in order to, you know, fight the citation, in order to fight the neighboring property owner, in order to like, well, many of the counselors who were on this call knew, like, I contacted them on this issue. You understood it. And I guess that's all I'm trying to say.
Okay. Thank you. I'm glad that has been resolved. And I mean, I think it was good for maybe Frank to hear those things that you went through, except for the part where you spent thousands of dollars on a lawyer. But you know, maybe there's a way that you guys can connect, and you know, you could give him some help of all the things that you did, because you did go through a lot.
Councilor Ricketts, if you don't have any more business for this evening, I make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, yes. Second.
I was looking at your agenda. I think you only have the next meeting dates. Is that correct?
Right. And then, yeah, so it'll be next month. And I know the topic's going to be on housing, and it's going to be Sue Gaffnick that's going to be doing a presentation. And I don't know who else she has in mind that's going to be coming out to talk. But let me see. I have a habit of throwing my papers on the floor as I answer, but it'll be the last Monday of the month, next month, for the CRE. And on that one, it will be just the housing. The only other people we may be inviting is the school representative and recreation department, as it's stated in the charter. Okay? And this was just a test to see if we could do something like this again. And I do appreciate everything everybody said. And it was good. It just got a little repetitive. And that was the hard part, because I don't want to stop people. But I know for people who like to come to speak at council meeting, I hope this was a gift to you that we could actually speak back, because it is difficult for us, but we are never allowed to speak during public comment. So that's what tonight was. So If I interrupted you too much, it was like, because this is why I did it, so I can finally speak to you. So let's call this a night. I thank everybody for everything they had to say.
We appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good night.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second,
all in favor?
aye.
Aye. Thank you, counselors. Thank you so much.